So my name is Rob Farrington and I'm a tax associate in Deloitte. I specifically work in the financial services side of things. So a lot of my clients would be investment management companies, insurance companies and leasing companies. So the work is normally split between compliance and consulting. So that means we do compliance, which would be, preparing tax returns for clients, and the other side of that would then be the consulting, where we would do specific work in respect of maybe a transaction or if there was something like a restructuring going on. So it's more kind of ad hoc advice rather than annual returns and stuff like that. The first thing that would come to my mind would be research skills and problem solving skills. We're presented with a lot of quite complex problems that may have arisen due to new legislation being introduced or things such as Brexit. So you need to take those situations away, problems that a client might have, kind of understand them and then apply tax legislation. And then that'll be supported with kind of secondary sources such as revenue guidance, or there might be other student manuals or other kind of commentary on the legislation. And all of those things need to be considered and taken into account when you're preparing a deliverable for a client. So all of those different sources will be reflected in the final output, and I suppose just being able to bring all of those things together and communicating it to a client who perhaps might not have a tax background. So I suppose you're kind of taking that information and just maybe translating it into something that's more understandable and actionable from a client's perspective. So one of the most exciting things is how it's constantly changing. So each year through the Finance Act, which the government would introduce, the legislation might be changed and there'd be new rules and new things that are going to impact upon your client. So it's not the same thing year on year, like you're constantly having to adapt, and those changes might come from the OECD level, they might come from the EU, so it's really interesting to kind of see it at a global level and then how that applies to our Irish clients and just being able to assist them with that is great. So I went to UCD and I did a Commerce International degree with Spanish. I thought it was a great degree. I really enjoyed getting to do the year-long Erasmus. The great thing about the degree as well was it gave us the chance to get a lot of the exemptions for the Chartered Accountant exams. And that can be really helpful when you come in. It's not entirely necessary, but it does make it a little bit easier not having to do some of the professional exams. I did an internship in Deloitte in the corporate tax department that I'm currently in the summer after my Erasmus, and got the offer to go back, and I was delighted to go back. So it was all very smooth. I didn't have to go through many interview processes, which I know can be quite stressful. The main thing is really acknowledging the fact that if you want to try something in college, give it a go. There's no specific skills that I would say you need to learn in college to go into a job like this. You'll learn everything on the job, and Deloitte, for example, are entirely aware of the fact that you're not going to have all of the skills going in. I remember when I was doing my internship, I texted someone who had done it before, and I asked if I needed to learn something about maths or if I needed to do anything specific, and they were nearly laughing at me saying, you're going to learn everything on the job, don't worry too much about it, just give everything a go in college and you learn. Deloitte will provide the classes and stuff, so it's really just on the job learning. I'm currently in the office maybe 3 days a week, and we have the option to come in as much as we want, but I think we're kind of deciding to come in just as a group because it's quite nice to go out for lunch together. If you want to roll over your chair to someone and ask them a question, it's great, but it is lovely then being able to wake up on a Friday, and if you don't feel like going in, being able to just stay at home. So I suppose when I'm at home, the main thing is really just making yourself have a routine. So, getting out of bed at a specific hour as if you had to go to the office, doing all the things you'd normally do and treating it as if it is a home office rather than, just another room in your house. But I think definitely taking advantage of the office and at home is the best, because it just means you're changing it up and it just keeps things interesting, I suppose.